Chai After Dark includes adult language and NSFW content. If you have auntie sensibilities or uncle sensibilities, this podcast may not be for you.
Hey potty people, it's your captain speaking, Captain Ron from greatpods.co with another intro for Chai After Dark. Today we discuss Indian Matchmaking on Netflix Season 1, Episode 6, titled It's High Time. Vyasar and Rashi instantly bond as Akshay rejects over 70 matches. Preeti Aunty gives him an ultimatum. Progressive Ankita looks for an equal partnership. And as a reminder, this podcast does not charge or make any money, so the best way to support us for now is subscribing to our Substack that includes the newsletter. Go to chaiafterdark.com to sign up. Follow us on all the socials, which is super easy, Chai After Dark to follow. Links are in the show notes, which is a fancy way of saying description of this episode. We're also doing a mini merch giveaway soon. So if you subscribe via the newsletter, you're well on your way to being chosen. But more on that in later episodes. Oh, and lastly, if you'd like to sponsor Chai After Dark, go ahead and email us. chaiafterdark@chaiafterdark.com. Let's go. All right, so what's going on, guys? Yeah, hey, what's up?
How you people?
What's up?
Hello.
Hey, girl.
So my week, all right. So handyman Captain Ron is at it again. 80's dad. So I fixed the front doorknob.
You fixed the dryer.
I fixed the dryer, took that POS apart and put it back together. The sink in the bathroom was fixed. Put it back together.
You piped it and you snaked it.
And I snaked it. Boom. How you like them apples? And then, so my aunt has one of those advanced toilets, the auto toilets, and they're tankless also. Their toilet was not working, and one of the electronic parts wasn't working. And so they had to order the part. I had to look at YouTube videos. You fix the solenoids that are a part of the system. I unscrewed it, put it back together. Didn't work the first time. Waited a couple of days, went back, and poof, it started working again.
Wow.
I'm glad we can't hear Samim.
I called you Luigi
Because I wouldn't want to hear.
I wanted to ask if you wear a helmet.
Why couldn't I be Mario? You had to pick Luigi. Although I love Luigi. He's
Mario's
my favorite.
like chunky and short.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be tall?
Luigi's like skinny and cute.
Skinny and afraid of mansions.
Game over.
You reminded me. Thank you so much.
On the
It
tool
reminded
man
me.
method.
Yes, that's what I was doing. Yeah, I was like, more power. I was
Yeah, you're
definitely
such a
doing
man.
that.
You're such a
I
man.
was definitely Tim the Toolman Taylor. So what's going on with you, ST?
I recorded Depp versus Heard podcast with Little Miss Recap over the weekend. So that was a crazy one. Those two are two crazy people.
Did you listen to the podcast on Amber Heard?
No.
She doesn't need a
Okay.
podcast to listen to Amber Heard. That shit was
I mean,
everywhere.
she's in the
Dude,
space.
I watched the entire trial and then I watched the documentary and it was wild, man.
And when's that episode coming out?
It is coming out Friday, September 27th.
All right. So that episode's going to be out by the time this episode comes out. So definitely we'll put that in the show notes.
No, Samim, what are you up to this
Oh,
weekend?
that was a pretty eventful weekend. Sophie and I went to this show on Friday night, Glass Animals. You guys know Glass Animals? Heat Waves?
Yeah.
Gooey.
Gooey.
Oh, Gooey. He performed that from the crowd. He came into the crowd. That was kind of cool. So we got there right on time. We got to get right up on the rail. From behind, Sophie has like very curly hair, as you guys know. There's a girl right next to her that has totally curly hair. They're the same exact height. Turns out they're both 15. So they're like talking. It was that girl's first concert. She holds up her phone during the opener because her boyfriend was really into it. So she looks at Sophie and she's like, my boyfriend really wanted to come because he's really into the opener. And I was like, babe, too bad. You can't go. And Sophie looks at me and she's like, this girl's 15. And then she picks up her phone. She FaceTimes her boyfriend the entire set. She holds the phone in the air for the entire like 45-minute first set, and then she held her phone in the air for the hour and a half second set by Glass Animals, but she was recording that one. She dumped the boyfriend between the opening and Glass Animals. It's pretty funny. But then the mom,
I don't think I would do that for my husband.
no, right? Like, and it's her first concert, so it was kind of weird that she wanted to need her boyfriend, her 14-year-old boyfriend, to be there with her.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna make it.
It's not going. You think they're gonna last? The 15-year-old's like, "Hi, it's my first concert." Well, she's sharing a memory with her boyfriend.
No, she's gonna have this memory when she's like 30. She's gonna be like, God, I was such a freaking idiot that I like did that. What a moron! I should have just enjoyed my first concert like a normal person. That's what she's gonna.
That's
remember.
what I was trying to say. And Sophie said the same thing. She's like, this concert, if they break up, will be about the boyfriend. And I had an ex in the past. She went to a concert for the first time in high school with her boyfriend, and then she's like, I fucking hate concerts because that guy was such a dick. So it was kind of annoying because we would never go to concerts.
Wow.
Overall, the story was that the mom was next to her, and I think like for the first hour, she did not think that I was Sophie's dad. Like, she's like, who's this guy standing behind this 15-year-old?
Well, the complexions are different, right? She is lighter skinned than you.
Okay, Preeti Aunty, relax.
But you're saying
I didn't realize my daughter was very fair.
No, but I think, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, do you look like Sophie's dad? I think you look young to be somebody like her age's dad. And yeah, you guys don't look like exactly the same. Like, I think it makes sense if you see Sophie's mom or even your other partner that wasn't Sophie's mom. Like, it
you
would
thought
make
her
sense
stepmom looked more like her than me?
I didn't.
Come on.
No, I don't think her stepmom looked more like her than you. But I think if people saw the three of you together, they could be like, oh, that's their kid.
Yeah, because Sophie does. She doesn't look Persian or Afghan as Imran thinks she is, and she definitely doesn't look. She definitely doesn't look Pakistani either. So no, I get that a lot. But thank you. I'm gonna take all of this as a compliment.
I went to Linkin Park. Linkin Park had their reunion concert with a brand new singer. So I went with my friends, who is also named Sophie, my college buddy, and my other friend, Nadia. So shout out to them if they're listening in. But we went there at the Forum. The Forum is such a fantastic audio piece of work. Like, they've remodeled it in such a good way. So if you ever get a chance to go to a concert at the Forum, you should, because there's no really bad seats for audio and listening in. And so we had a really good time. There's some problematic stuff with the new lead singer, but aside from that, we relived our college days and screamed our heads off for Linkin Park, and it was a fantastic time. Dude. Yeah, that was my concert,
man. Glass Animals versus Linkin Park.
Nice.
Linkin Park, bro. Come on. Come on, man. They got a full set list, bro. What does Glass Animals? 2 songs? Come on. Two TikTok songs? Come on.
I like Linkin Park. Linkin Park.
But
I can't say that I was like a big fan. I thought it was pretty cookie cutter back in the day, like 20 years ago. I wasn't angsty enough, man. Actually, I probably was angsty enough, but I don't think like Linkin Park was the right type of music for me.
I was way more like pop style than Linkin
No, you're
Park.
a big Spice Girls girl.
Well, Dua Lipa is going on.
Spice Girls? I was a little... Okay, it was like Spice Girls, Mariah Carey.
Did you have a Spice Girls poster in your room? Or am I tripping? You told me that?
No.
It must have been someone else.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Destiny's Child. And then, Usher, just all the like dirty ass 90s music.
But ladies and gentlemen, we are at it again. This is Chai After Dark.
Woohoo!
Chai. ST didn't want... See, ST wanted to get rid of the chives, but here's Samim coming in with the chives. Then ST came in at the end. Peer pressure works.
Yeah, peer pressure works. That's how Aunty gets people married.
That's how she gets them. And on this episode, we're going to recap episode 6. It is titled "It's High Time." Now, there's always some piece of dialogue in the episode that refers to the title. So, High Time referring to Preeti Aunty. But we meet Raj and Rashmi, and they've been married for 36 years. And they talk about going to their first arranged marriage movie date and he wanted to go see Tootsie, but he couldn't really say that to her parents. So he said that he wanted to go see Gandhi. Gandhi had just come out in the theaters. That's with Ben Kingsley, Academy Award winning, and it's 3 hours long. So maximize the amount of time you could spend with your girl, and it worked. So the mother
really well.
gave approval to go see Gandhi, but they went, but they ended up seeing Tootsie. And the producer asked, "What did you do in the remaining time?" And they just giggled like little school boys and girls.
And then they're like,
What?
no.
No, we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Giggle, like reading between the lines. Yeah, y'all were making out
Yeah.
even 36 years ago.
Nice.
But that was kind of fun, flirty type of intro. But we start off with Vyasar, our boy, and
Yeah.
his family date with Rashi, which they have similar qualities. And notably for me, they're both jolly.
Yeah, and she comes into Vyasar's home with her brother, Raj. Yeah. They sit down, they start talking a bit. Vyasar and his family are really nice. They say, like, hey, do you guys want to get some tea? And they say yes. And so Rashi, being the nice girl that she is, she gets up and just chats with Vyasar and helps him make the tea. And then they come back for conversation with family.
Now, you know what? There was a little tidbit that came in from Vyasar's mom where they kind of explained the dogs and cats that he had growing up. And his mom was kind of like a cat lady a little bit. She had like 9 unofficial cats throughout. But the little tidbit in there was regarding his mom being a single mother.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, perked up.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, we're getting a little familial backstory. And where is Vyasar's dad? Much like Aparna's dad, we were questioning, like, where is Aparna's dad in all this? And then we finally got like a backstory in episode 4. We're also getting that, or at least the start of it, in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting. She said that she was a single mom and she lived with Vyasar in Austin, and then her siblings came and it really increased the quality of their life. And Vyasar grew really close to his relatives, and seems like that's when kind of their life blossomed.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then Vyasar, like you mentioned, Vyasar goes off and is making chai during the day, not after dark, for Rashi. And she comes over to help make chai, which is awfully nice. And he took that as a sign of how cool she is. Like after 5 to 10 minutes of just meeting them, that she offered to make chai. Now, on my side, I'm thinking like I would take any opportunity to get away from the family because I'd be nervous to just be sitting there chatting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have sat through like an arranged marriage thing, but I feel like I would have gone through that, being like, yeah, I will go help make some chai just to get away from this awkward situation.
I mean, they got out of there pretty fast,
Same.
right?
I totally would.
She was standing next to him and he was making a big old fucking mess on the counter, just like I would if I was serving 20 people chai. But then,
which you did
for you guys.
Previous episode, if you listened, you know, you did in my kitchen.
But he was like, you want to go to lunch?
So right after that, they end up going on their date and we cut away.
Yeah.
To Akshay.
Dun, dun,
That's a good
dun.
rhyme. We cut away to Akshay and his very stressed out family. And on the face of it, Akshay is getting a lot of good looking women, especially what they're showing on screen, like 6 pictures of these women in the bio datas. And I was like, oh, these are attractive women. And he just, I don't even know what, he just says, what is there even to talk about? Well, that's the whole point. The whole point is to get you in the door and then you go in there and start talking to figure things out. Akshay really frustrates me. And this episode really proves that.
I don't agree. I'm not frustrated by Akshay because he's a 25-year-old dude. He didn't pick his mama and this mom's out of control. I don't know. Shabnam, you should probably talk first because his mom pisses me off.
Okay, well, I'll say this. Preeti Aunty said that Akshay is confused and rejected a girl because her picture, it was a professional photograph. She was wearing a lot of makeup and he wanted a normal picture. So I'm just wondering from you guys as guys, if you saw a girl like professional picture all decked out, would you be like, I'd rather just see what she normally looks like? Would you agree with Akshay? Or do you think that like, what's Akshay's issue? He should be fine with that.
He's just stalling. I think that's all he's doing. It doesn't seem like he has any interest. He's just like, I just need someone like my mom. He said something like that. I don't know. Is it like
Yeah,
a
I think
perception thing? Like she needs to look like the mom? Or does he need like the full
no.
mom energy?
I think that he's used to the full mom energy. So what he would be attracted to is like a dom type, but that type of woman his mom would never get along with. And so he's just like emotionally castrated because anybody that he's actually into, his mom would veto. And so that's what I think.
Whips and chains. I don't think Preeti Aunty has that, in the Zaber box. Unless she might, like, you never know, like if there's some kink involved. I don't know.
I don't think.
I think Preeti Aunty's whipped somebody
that
before. Whether it's in a sexual
Yeah.
sense or just in general, she has.
Do you think Preeti Aunty has some PTSD over something in her life or relationship that happened that she's carrying over to her?
So, well, I don't know, but she definitely popped some pills because she was talking about that later.
Oh,
I mean,
that is true. She does mention popping some pills, but those are medicine pills.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be clear. Medicinal pills. Elder family members, everybody's taking those blood pressure pills. Blood pressure, that's another thing. My blood pressure was freaking raising every time she mentioned her blood pressure. She's like, my BP is being raised. So is mine. Could you just
driving
chill
me
out,
nuts,
mom?
man.
Like, what's
Absolutely
going on?
driving me nuts. Like watching this episode.
And just to clarify, when I say Akshay frustrates me, it's Akshay's entire situation. That includes Preeti Aunty because she's like the bane of his existence.
So Mansha, Akshay's cousin, comes and visits him at work. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but he works at Jaquette Group, which is his last name. So that's his family business, Jaquette Group. And so I got really excited and I Googled it. But then turns out it's a manufacturing company in Mumbai that's permanently closed.
Oh, shit.
So I don't know.
Wait, when did it close?
I don't know. I couldn't find a lot on it, but it just said his family owned a business that has been around for 76 years and deals with the automobile industry, infrastructure, manufacturing, and finance. Akshay is director in the financial arm of the conglomerate, and the company believes in settling for excellence in their undertakings. But then the office was permanently closed. So I don't know if they moved to a different office or they just moved the office out of Mumbai, Bombay. I don't know. So
sounds like the
that's all I know.
Tatas or the Ambanis came in, made them an offer they couldn't refuse. Probably saw them on Netflix.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. Makes a lot of sense. So I think we talked about it in the
Jaquette
Ambani episode where vast majority of Indian billionaires made their money from manufacturing steel, automotive parts, all kinds of stuff.
That's a great callback to Ambani's.
I'll tell you guys about Mansha. So Mansha visited him. You can see that she has a little bit more of a chill life than Akshay. So she brings brownies for him to work. And I don't think that they're, edibles or anything. I think they're just regular brownies. And she says that like, oh, you want some brownies? And he's like, no, I'm on a diet. I can't eat it. And he says his mom will kill him if he eats the whole brownie. And she says, oh, your mom like brainwashed you? And he says, no, it's not her. It's not her. And it's like, you just said she was the one that was going to kill you.
Yeah.
He's 25 and he's like, I have to watch how much of a brownie I eat because my mom's going to kill me. It's very,
she was roasting.
A little
she was
alarming.
roasting Akshay and she was roasting her own aunt. She's like, literally like, I'm not going to get arranged marriage. I would never get arranged marriage. She was rubbing it in. I felt bad for this kid.
Yeah.
Seriously, just like calling it out to his face and to us of what we all see, which was, I was like, yeah, that's right. Like, what's he going to react to? And then all of a sudden he's like, Mommy.
But then she says, you haven't even dated anyone. And then he says in his confessional, like, he hasn't ever dated anyone. He's never felt in love. And, the feeling of like, he can't stop thinking about someone. He's only ever felt that way about things.
So
it was like,
dude,
what?
The dude doesn't have experience talking to
humans.
Girls. Or
it doesn't seem like it's a virgin thing. It seems like it's an overall thing.
His socialization of it all, like he just didn't. He was talking about being in a tutoring center or studying in the library the entire time he was like out in the States or wherever he was studying. So there wasn't any social interaction of potential interest with the opposite sex. And part of me is like, I don't blame him then for his social upbringing, right? That's why he just has this wall. At least my take is that he just hasn't had the experience to do it. So he needs to be forced into that position. And who else better than his mom to put him in that position to go to 0 to 100 real quick?
But then Mancha asks him why it's never worked with any other girl. And he says different reasons. And then he says one woman had a bunch of tattoos, a big one on her neck, and it was her sun sign. I feel this story is 100% bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, from a matchmaker, there was an Indian girl with a neck tattoo that Preeti Aunty presented him. I seriously doubt that.
To Preeti Aunty?
No, I think he's
it's insane.
Like, of all people.
I don't think he was saying that. I thought he was saying that was like some girl at college that he met. But he probably saw her in the hall and she smiled at him.
So Akshay doesn't have high expectation, but is really his mom that has the high expectations, right? So
He doesn't know what to expect.
dude, it's like Pradyuman. Like, I feel like he's Pradyuman, but like light. Like, at least Pradyuman is meeting some girls finally, but Akshay is just still in his early stage, I guess, in this character building of the show, that he's just like, I cannot meet the 20, 30 girls, 300 girls, whatever is coming
Why
through
doesn't
the
he just
pipeline.
find like a 35, 40-year-old divorced woman? Somebody a little bit older, somebody with traditional values.
You think Preeti Aunty would like her blood pressure she would like literally die.
Oh no,
Her
I
blood
know,
pressure
but
would
I'm
go that high.
And you had to pop out the kid within 2 years.
I know.
That's part of Preeti Auntie's like syllabus or content calendar or whatever you want to call
Syllabus
it
for
on
his
that
life.
calendar.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This guy needs a
Get
divorce.
married and then 2 years.
He needs a divorcee. He needs to marry like Preeti Auntie's divorced cousin that the entire family has shunned. Because they can technically get married, right? So
All right.
Well, he tells Mancha that he wants someone a little traditional, not extreme, because that's too much. So not an extreme Desi trad wife, just kind of a regular Desi trad wife.
Okay.
Like, good
dude.
luck.
Yeah.
Good luck with Preeti Aunty. Good luck with your mama.
Yeah.
Like, it is going to be an uphill battle with that one. Now, we're off to Delhi with a new player entering the game of Indian matchmaking, and her name is Ankita.
But
she's a designer, entrepreneur, started her own designing business, manufacturing designs, and so on. She's kind of cool, independent. I think we kind of know that type of personality. It's cool, like,
I relate to her.
Yeah.
I relate to her.
Yeah.
But she says the basic interpretation of an independent woman is that she cannot get married because she cannot adjust because she's too independent. In India, these women are called jalu. And then they put that on screen and they translate it as characterless or immoral. And then she defines it as cunning. So I was like, oh, that's interesting because I always thought Jalu was like eccentric, weird, kind of nuts, but also
sneaky.
maybe
I
like,
always thought sneaky.
yeah, maybe like a bit conniving.
Wait, so she calls herself Jalu?
Oh.
No, she's saying that independent women are looked at as Jalu.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a
Indian
contingent
society.
of that within the United States too, right? There's a subsect of every country where the men don't like independent women. That's pretty obvious.
Now, there's been strong women throughout the history of India. We're talking about like prime ministers and stuff. So it shouldn't be anything new. But if we're talking about like Akshay's traditional wife with Preeti Aunty, and we're seeing a lot of that in the Indian families that we're seeing in the show, that it is different to see an actual Indian in India being independent.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've not had a female U.S. president. There's been like prime ministers of Pakistan, India, a lot of other quote unquote third world countries that have like women leaders. But there's definitely, just in my own experience, a much larger contingent of trad wives in those countries than there is in the U.S. maybe.
Is that what's being fed in your algorithm right now?
Trad wife? Hell yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, they churn their own butter. But I think it's funny because now, just like this whole Preeti Aunty, what she's saying, she's describing a version of like a Desi trad wife, which, like, that's not what, if you put trad wife in TikTok, that's not what's going to come up. But, you know, what she's describing is a Desi version of that.
So back to Ankita.
But I like that they're introducing like a little more nuanced characters that are a little less caricature-y, you know, than Pradyuman and Aparna. They were like very much caricatures of people versus Ankita. She is a little bit more nuanced, I think, than those. And then I think Akshay's interesting because like he's less of a caricature, but then like Preeti Aunty is kind of a crazy caricature too. But
Yeah, and with Ankita's family, though, I kind of appreciate their family and their backstory as we meet them in Delhi. Kind of go over a little bit when she was of marriageable age, and they went, spreading the news like, "Hey, we're looking for a boy for Ankita," and the cousins, the families, like the extended family, commented back, "Boys want to marry pretty girls," and so dot dot dot. We don't know what to do. Like,
yeah.
what
I
kind
know.
of how your cousins, your other aunties and uncles and your cousins, extended family, like just straight up insulting you,
Oh, that's so common for girls.
and
Like
that is common,
you're
right?
dark, you're fat, you're like you like
You're too
yeah,
old.
you're too old, you're
You're too independent.
yeah, you need to wear different makeup, your lipstick is too bright. Like just all kinds of
But
shit.
that's not what Ankita's
I mean, I can't.
parents weren't like that, right? They were pretty open to her
No,
being.
Ankita's parents were
Yeah,
chill.
he was
Yeah.
literally hitting on.
So the extended family was
Were
messed
they?
up.
I might have missed that scene.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
the
extended
extended
family was messed up,
family.
but the parents, they said, like, well, we understand she's rebellious, and they stuck
Yeah.
by her.
Yeah.
Like they stuck, this is her, this is who she's going to be, and we're going to support her in her endeavors
totally.
and what she thinks she wants to do.
Even though
And
they're
I was like, yeah, all right, cool.
yeah, even though they're not sure that the society is ready to accept that yet, but they're still willing to stand by her. But it was her relatives that were more
Did you guys not
critical
catch?
of her.
Yeah, I'd give props to the parents for being progressive like that and understanding. They may be
Totally.
traditional, but they're like traditionally progressive, where they're like, it's not us, it's her life type of situation. Like our lives are different, but we understand that she's making her own path.
Super progressive. The dad was hitting on Seema Aunty. He's like, wait, when did you
Oh,
get married?
yeah.
How old are you? He did every episode has an uncle going, like it's just so ridiculous. Like even the mom was just sitting there and she's like, he thinks you're cute. She basically validated the husband hitting on Seema Aunty of all people.
Funny.
Like it was very forward for a Rishta kind of session for India.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then Ankita basically is like too much, too modern, too chalu for Seema Aunty to find a match for. So Seema Aunty wants to connect her with Geeta, a matchmaker that works with less traditional clients.
So stupid.
She outsourced Ankita to Geeta.
So stupid.
And I feel like that only happened because of the show. Otherwise, she probably would have just been like, "Oh, it's not a good fit." But because of the show, she's like, "Okay, like they want Ankita on the show, so I'll work with Geeta." She probably hates Geeta in real life, I bet you. But whatever.
Oh, the way that those conversations between Seema Aunty and Geeta were playing out, you can tell. Here's the progressive matchmaker versus the traditional matchmaker.
Maybe, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
So yeah, Seema Aunty shows up and she's talking to the family of Ankita's family. And so they go through this process like we've seen in episodes before of getting to know the family. What do you want? What's the criteria you're looking for in a match? And so on. And obviously what you just mentioned, Geeta is introduced by name for now.
Yeah.
Geeta is in Delhi and Ankita is in Delhi. So maybe it's better for them to match somebody who's more localized. But then again, Seema Aunty is traveling the world trying to match people up all over the world.
I think it's just more that it's that
she just doesn't have anybody
that's
in the Rolodex.
Yeah. And then it was funny
women.
because Ankita's likes are like that the person's pleasant, that he likes to travel, but he likes to stay at home, that we are similar, but he can have a different background, that he likes dogs, but he doesn't have to like dogs.
She just wants to get married.
I don't know. That seems
she
more
just wants
real
to get married
than everybody else.
You know, that really, I think just everybody wants someone that's going to be nice to them, that they kind of gel with, that's going to be cool with liking the things they like. Or if not, then let them like what they like and be cool with that. That's all anybody really wants. So it's like,
I mean, we all wanted the Bollywood love affair.
Like we can't talk about this kind of stuff like it's real. Like I don't have any experience with this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's too weird. Like she has a e-commerce denim company that she started in 2018. She said it's doing really well. She's doing it with her sister. Like she doesn't need to apologize to anybody for like being chalu or independent. She's cool.
Yeah.
It just kind of sucks. I understand why Netflix picked her, Imran, because they needed somebody to like have this storyline, but it's the same storyline as Aparna being independent. I think they needed somebody in India because then when you keep we'll
Yeah.
get to it
Yeah.
later, like Shabnam said, but once the second matchmaker comes, it like kind of goes off the rails for that reason.
Yeah.
So then right after this, we are taken back to Akshay. Akshay has a big part of this episode, and Preeti Aunty is hanging out with all of her auntie friends and doing their gup-shup gossip about.
Shoot me now.
And they talk about, all they talk about is
Exactly.
Shoot me in
gossip
the-
and marriage.
Ugh.
They just talk about marriage. Your favorite auntie
Shoot
group,
me in the
isn't
tip.
it?
Tip to tip.
Yikes.
Jesus.
Oh my. Oh, yeah. Which episode was that reference? Tip to tip?
The last
You know
one,
what? Everyone
episode
knows.
5.
Shabnam brought it out the end of the episode. She wanted a sword fight or something. I don't know.
Tip to tip.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay. Yeah, they and all the aunties are talking about their experiences with their kids and how they got married. One auntie met 20 to 25, and then her son ended up doing a love marriage in the end. And you could sense like Preeti Auntie's just looks get panicky.
she's just like,
It's
she's
just
like, I don't
oh,
care
God.
what anyone else did. I need to control my son. And she says she's sad to see that her friends' kids are getting married and Akshay's not. Her friends
Yeah.
said that when you see a girl, there'll be a click and you guys will just know she's the one. And it's just like,
I don't believe that.
I don't know. I don't think Preeti Auntie's going to feel any kind of click
Yeah,
with
I don't believe
anyone.
that.
He hasn't even met a girl yet.
Yeah.
For us, it was as frustrating as Pradyuman, where it's like, meet a girl first. Let's get the show on the road so
Yeah.
we know how you actually interact with that person. That's what I want to see. This is episode 6 of
Yeah.
Indian Matchmaking. Like, we're too far into like, maybe this is a critique of the show, but we have a lot of
Yeah.
players in the show right now for this season. And you got to cut to the chase right now. Like, let's get to Akshay and a date right now in this episode. Give us that backstory, but get him to a first date.
Okay, can we go through what she says about Pooja, her other daughter-in-law, her first daughter-in-law?
Yeah, please. This is.
The
I'm so
elder
mad right
daughter-in-law,
now.
yes.
Honestly,
It's
the more you read it, the
because
more
it partially because it partially doesn't make sense, and I feel like Netflix glosses over like stuff like this, and it's like, no, it's so messed up. Give it its moment and criticize it. So I'm going to do that. She says, when Pooja and I sat down for a discussion, I told her, these are the rules of my house. This is how things should be done. I don't interfere in anybody's house. Nobody interferes in my house. I told Aditya, which is her son, Pooja's husband, I told her Aditya likes this, he doesn't like that, and automatically she got used to it. And then they come back to the conversation, and I feel like there was some other stuff that was talked about in the middle. And then she says, immediately after his marriage, he told me to shop for his wife. He told me to tweak certain things for his wife. And then she says to her friends, boys see a part of their mother in their wives. This I've learned. And I got my elder son married at the proper time. But in the younger one, the car is stalling and he won't get married. And I'm just like, okay, we need to pick apart, what is she saying? I feel like she's saying that Pooja needs to do whatever the fuck she says, and that's what's going to go. It doesn't matter that Pooja is a grown woman. Pooja lives in her house, and Pooja needs to do whatever she says. And then she's saying that Aditya like sees some of his mom and his wife, meaning that he's kind of listening to her. Like, he kind of feels like some things should go her way. And so she's like, but I got him married at the perfect time when he was freaking 23. They were both so young. I got him married early enough to like manipulate them both and
I
keep
know.
them in line.
Ugh.
That's what I think she's saying.
That's what I think she's saying too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're spot on. I think she was trying to say.
I'm glad you guys are unpacking it, because I literally wrote down my notes like, I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here. And I was like, I put that in my notes literally. I'm so glad you two are talking about it.
She needs some.
I just don't know. I'm so confused by these interactions.
She needs therapy. She doesn't need Seema. She doesn't need any other matchmaker. She needs to go say everything that she's saying to a therapist, or not even a therapist, to like someone that doesn't have a view exactly like hers, so they can tell her she's stupid as shit. But that's never going to happen. She's wealthy in India. I totally get it. Like, it'll never happen. But it just like gave up. I know I keep bringing it up, but it gives off such strange kidnappy vibes. Like, Sophie's 15 and a half. If she was 23 in 7.5 years, I can't imagine her still being A, in my house, unless she needed to be. I mean, that's totally fine. B, like, me obsessing over her love life or her sex life. I think parents that police sex or love, whether it's like too much, like some people, or like parents that pretend it doesn't
Too
exist.
restrictive.
Yeah, like sex
Right.
doesn't exist. Like Akshay probably doesn't know anything about the birds and the bees. Either way, it's too unhealthy. Like I can't get my mind
Yeah.
around why I would care about what Sophie was doing in her 20s. Obviously, I'm not Preeti Aunty from India, but I don't know. We talked about this a little bit on the last episode too, but I just can't get there.
But I think she just, everything is about her to her. It's not really about Akshay. And Akshay says his mom's blood pressure is increasing. He feels guilty for this, which I'm like, dude, you don't need to feel guilty for this. Your mom's a nut job. And then
Emotional damage.
Yeah. And then she says, Akshay tells her not to worry because then, quote unquote, I pop the pills and then I take tension. And then he says, sometimes you'll start crying and then you'll shout at me. And yeah, it has happened. And I'm just like, oh my God, you're crazy. You're literally insane.
Giggles ensue.
Yeah. And it's like, that's not funny. You need.
You're emotionally blackmailing your
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. You need like.
So it's not kidnapping, but it's some
to see someone.
like it's going to be some psychological trauma.
I don't think she's well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she's well, and I think that like she's making everyone around.
She even
her
says
suffer.
she's not well. She straight up says like I'm always anxious. My blood pressure's out of control.
Well, that's
so
also
stupid.
an emotional look. I mean, did any of our parents ever do that to us? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'm not going to speak for you guys. For me, yeah, that has happened. And so in our older age, we're able to call it out, being like, yo, I understand what's going on. You need to chill out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. Let's move on.
And then we head back. Yeah, well, we head back to Texas, good old Texas. And it's our boy Vyasar.
Yeah.
And he's on his date with Rashi at Spin.
He's like
Spin Sports Lounge.
coming back
Club.
to his scenes is like a breath of fresh air. It's like a glass of water in the heat of the desert day.
Yeah. Oh, did it quench our thirst? Yes, it did. And he went to the familiar grounds of Spin. We were all there in the Bay Area at one point, and Spin opened up in downtown San Francisco. It was a nice big lounge, had activities and stuff. But the main activity that brought people together there was ping pong. So they had a lot of table tennis tables, and we'd had a lot of company events there. But in this case, it's a great date spot as well.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of Vyasar and whoever decided to go to the Spin Ping Pong Social Club, because that's probably where I would go to.
Take her out for a spin.
Take her out. Oh boy. And it's a normal date, at least from what we see.
It's a little bit too normal
throughout like entertainment or real life. Yeah, it's a little too normal.
It was pretty normal, but she's like, I need you to be a little bit more open and stuff. And there's a big twist coming at the end of the show. So nobody hang up. But she keeps asking him to be more open, to be more open, to be more open.
This is a podcast, bro. Nobody's hanging up. Okay, they're hitting pause or stopping.
Hey, nobody hit pause and nobody stopped.
But hopefully they're not pausing or stopping.
People don't call landline and listen to podcasts that way anymore. I didn't know that.
Call 1-800
podcasts.
Yeah. I wonder if that's actually a number. Yeah, but he's a good, pleasant conversationalist and a nice date. But then he starts opening about how emo, and I think that's good vulnerability.
But first he says that he saw himself getting married the conventional way, which like to him is meeting someone, falling in love and getting married. And then he got his heart broken. It's been a year getting over it. So he decided to try something different. And then they talk about that for a bit. And then they start talking about what he's like in high school. And then he says he was emotional and he cried a lot in public. And she says, oh, sensitive.
The last episode, he's talking about Dungeons and Dragons. And now he's like, I cried in high school all the time. You want a second date? What's up? Literally cuts to him asking her for a second date. She says yes.
Yeah.
She says yes.
Which is nice for him. But, you know, I got told once to open up from a friend. A female friend was giving me advice. She's like, you know what? You're very fun, gregarious, outgoing, and so on. You put on this. Oh man, this is me getting
and I think I'd agree with that.
Layer,
I think I'd agree with that.
But said, hey, you need to add that extra. What Vyasar, and I guess that's why he's my boy. I guess I could relate more to him than the other characters on the show, but emotionally opening it up. And maybe this is a therapy session for me right now, but I looked at it where it's, if I were to emotionally open up, that would be a turnoff. Like, when do you emotionally open up? Is it the first? Is it the second? Is it the third date? Right. And so that's what held me back on holding up that wall, so to speak, the emotional wall or the vulnerability wall. And my friend was like, yeah, you need to open up a little bit quicker. And so I've seen the first meeting go sour because I emotionally opened up. So finding that balance was hard for me to find. And I don't think there's a right answer because every person is different in how they receive that vulnerability and what they want is seeing that vulnerability, which was a tough thing to like watch and listen, but I was excited for him because I can actually like connect with somebody in that regard in the show.
What do you think of that, Sameem?
I'm not putting Imran's business out there, but I think Imran knows that Imran needs to open up a little bit more. He said it himself right now. I'll say one thing, like I haven't really been on any first dates. Like, sure, I've met people before, but I don't think I would be emotionally open on a first date. I want to know the same things that somebody else would want to know in a bio data. But I don't know. I would just try to make them laugh and I would try to get the fuck out of there. I don't think I would have any like I'm not trying to get married. I'm not even trying to look for a girlfriend. I don't even want to fucking go on a date. So it's hard for me to answer that question. I will say that when he said, so she flew in just like Manisha did. He's like, so I know you're here till Sunday. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to ask her to go bang or something. So what do you think? And it was like slowing down. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing because he's from Austin. He's like, I want to be more organic. I want to meet somebody like that. I really thought he was going to be like, what's up? You want to go back? But he's like, would you like a second date? Very trim and proper. So it was like a ball buster almost. I thought I was going to get something out of this episode that was a little bit more than G-rated, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
That's funny.
I'll tell you, if you had a good time, you might as well set up the second date.
No,
right there,
of course, yeah.
Towards the end of the date, at least.
Yeah,
it's perfect. Like,
yeah, I think it was good.
Smart, yeah.
But I would say, Imran, yeah, I think you're right about thinking about it like balance. I think like first date's not the time to do it, but you do it like a little bit over time, and it's always like a little bit of a risk. But then you have to like the person enough to take the risk.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a risk right here. So
I'm excited.
When I was 17 or 18 years old.
Okay, tell us. Go. Tell us. When you were 17 or 18 years old, what happened?
Me and my buds, we went to the Spice Girls concert. It was sold out here at Staples Center. And so they added a second concert, and we were into like K-rock and alternative music too. We were into everything, right? Mm-hmm. But I was heavily invested in the Spice Girls. Posh Spice was my girl. So they added a second concert, but it was in the boonies in San Bernardino. So it's about 90 minutes away. So we went there. We got the nosebleeds. It was probably my first concert ever, actually. Mm-hmm. Didn't really go out much or go to other concerts, but I went out there. My buddies were carpooling in their van. We went out, had a good time. We had our binoculars because we were in the nosebleeds. We couldn't see anything. I remember seeing this little kid next to me with his mom, and he was like, "Mom, look at these old teenagers at a Spice Girls concert, not with any girls or parents or anything like that, just with their binoculars watching the concert." We ended up being like at the concert at the gates with like fans trying to hang out after with pop stars, maybe get a showing of like getting them on the bus, get an autograph and so on. But the funny thing is we did it unintentionally because my buddy locked his keys in his car. So we had to wait till AAA to get there. So we waited by the tour buses. We found the tour buses in the backstage area. The tour buses took off. We didn't see anybody get in them, and they just took off. We're like, what the hell? This boony land of an amphitheater didn't have like a green room for artists or anything like that. So they took off. We're like, holy crap, we need to go follow them. So AAA comes over, gets the keys out of the car, jump in the car. By that time, traffic was like perfect out of the parking lot. So we sped up, found one of the buses, tailed it all the way through to Beverly Hills.
Oh my God.
They were staying in Beverly Hills.
Okay.
So we tailed it. Yeah,
keep going.
I'm opening up to you guys. One of the buses stopped at the Four Seasons. That's the one we were tailing. Mm-hmm. We parked our cars, got out, waited outside, like excited.
Yeah.
And so as they're coming out, it wasn't the Spice Girls at all. It was their backup band. And I recognized the drummer because the drummer was Desi, like British Desi drummer.
Nice.
So I was like, oh shit.
Wrong
It's
van, wrong truck.
it's the backing band for the Spice Girls. And they came out and they were like, no, this isn't the right bus. They actually told us which hotel they were at.
Oh my God.
Like, you need to go to the Beverly Hills Hotel or whatever. And so we were like, oh crap. So we head over to the Beverly Hills Hotel, and he was right, because there was a bus there and it was empty. And it was like, we missed them by however many minutes or whatever it was. And I remember the stupidest thing that I did was like, I touched the bus to see if it was still warm, and it was warm. So that way we knew we missed them by a couple of minutes.
Oh man.
It was the saddest Spice Girls stalking story ever in that moment. I have more Spice Girls stories, but that was my moment.
That was a one Desi guy doing another Desi guy a solid.
Yeah, he's like, this guy,
go to the Beverly Hotel.
Yeah, he's like, hey, bro, I got you.
Yeah,
peeping, not peeping Tom, but peeping Imran over here with his binoculars.
Tip to tip, bro.
Anyways, wow. Okay.
You live, you learn, you grow up, and you don't act like that again. Now, there's different stories, but whatever.
You act bad in a different way next time.
Yeah. So I feel you have Yasser in opening up emotionally and about random ass stories too. All right. So now we go back to India, and in India we are in Delhi for the first time with Geeta. Who Seema Aunty had pawned off Ankita to, and we get a little more insight into her matchmaking process. She actually kind of looks cool and modern, doesn't she?
She does.
And then you have Seema Aunty in her.
Sameem's face was like, "No, I don't think so." Compared to Seema Aunty,
come on,
we got to compare.
She looks like.
Well, we're comparing within the diaspora.
I didn't like her. I mean, we're gonna get to why, but. Yeah, I think I'm having a tough time thinking that she's modern at all.
Well, I liked what she said initially, right? Geeta Aunty tells Seema Aunty that she thinks she should first ask clients why they want to get married. And Seema Aunty's like, oh, forget it. They just want to get married because their parents told them to, or it's like trendy with their friends. And she like totally shits on like people actually having a reason to get married.
She's right.
Right.
But she's right.
And Geeta's way of marrying is holistic.
You think that people just should listen to their parents?
I think coming from what Seema Aunty's saying, that's her experience. It's a bunch of Preeti Aunties forcing their kids to get married. She doesn't give a fuck. She just wants to get paid. That's what she was saying.
And there's definitely a market for it.
There's a market for these
she has a list. God. We don't condone any kidnapping.
I don't condone it, but Seema Aunty and Preeti Aunty do. So Seema Aunty does not. Sorry. Preeti Aunty does. Just because you don't use the word kidnapping. I don't know. I'm not going to drop it, guys. It's Shy After Dark, and I believe if you're an adult and your parents don't let you move out until you get married, I think that's kidnapping or emotional blackmail.
Is that entrapment?
Or entrapment. No, entrapment is when the cops
entrapment?
Put a baggie in your pants and then they don't tell you.
They bait you.
God, they put it back. No, entrapment is when a cop tries to sell you drugs and then you buy them and then they entrapped you. Like a cop shouldn't be trying to sell you drugs. A cop should just catch people who are already selling drugs.
Put the baggie in his pants. I meant, isn't that a drug reference? I don't know. How do people buy drugs? I don't know.
So we get to know Geeta a little bit there and how they differ. They do differ, at least in this conversation.
Yeah.
And they ultimately end up saying marriage is a compromise, right? In so many different ways, they both agreed. Even though Seema Aunty denied a lot of things that Geeta was going after, like you guys are kind of on the same page here that compromise needs to be done because that's all Seema ever talks about.
Yeah.
With the likes of Aparna and everybody else. Like you need to compromise, you need to let go of some of these things. But up front, they like to butt heads.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the deal is, Seema Aunty. We talked a little bit earlier on, but what is her deal with Geeta? Like, hey, why did you bring her in the first place if you were going to butt heads?
Right.
You guys are supposed to be friends.
I think she did it for the show.
So it's for the show. Do it for the show. And so we look at Ankita's bio data, and it includes forward thinking. What it got me thinking is like when you write something down that says forward thinking, there's nobody ever putting backward thinking on their resume.
No, but because what they put is traditional.
Yeah.
And is that backward thinking? I mean, like that is a negative aspect.
You can't say backwards, but
no, but
It's
a
a spin. It's not going.
Yeah, it's
forward,
all a
You
spin.
like you like that throwback. You like that
Nice.
callback. It's a spin.
Yeah. Well, because forward thinking could be chalu or it could be forward thinking. And then traditional could be traditional or it could be backward.
Oh my god.
You know?
I don't know.
Depends on your perspective.
I don't know. I mean,
well,
yeah.
she's the second person, right, that we've seen that has a nuclear family. Also, who's the other person? I don't remember the other person that had a nuclear.
Rushali.
Was that Pradyuman's?
Yeah, Pradyuman, the model.
The horse riding
Yeah.
one, the horse riding date. So she came from a nuclear family.
Yeah.
Was she from
Rushali was from Delhi. So maybe it's like a Delhi thing.
It's a Delhi thing to be forward thinking, progressive.
A
Wow,
nuclear
I'm kind
family?
of impressed.
Yeah.
But the other
nuclear
auntie
family.
says that.
Maybe.
She literally says, Seema auntie says that she needs the other auntie because she has more connections in Delhi. And Delhi, I guess, are the forward-thinking people. Like, that's what I got, why she had to bring her in.
Which is fascinating to me that if you were to take a step back, now we're learning about Bombay, Mumbai versus Delhi, New Delhi.
Nice.
Like these cities, like Americans, we like to lump people up together.
Yeah.
And this kind of
it shows you
separates
you
these
the
people.
diversity of their thinking.
Yeah. And so we shouldn't lump a group of people together because everybody's individual. Anyway, that's my educational moment of the show. All right, I think we think that Geeta gets it for now, and she does mention beautiful takes you so far, but personality could be cold as ice, that sort of thing. And then we head over with Ankita, and Ankita is hanging out with her homies. And what I liked, this is comparison to what Western standards are in today's day and age, is when one of the friends started talking about Tinder and how this is a manual Tinder and the families are swiping right and left. I'm like, we've talked about that before of the dating apps. And so somebody finally said it on the show, which is like, yes, it's not much different. You're looking at a picture first and you're swiping left or right.
Yeah, they say that working with a matchmaker is like Tinder premium, but with families involved.
So these guys are fucking around on Tinder out there. So it's the same shit. Like, they can't marry someone off Tinder, but it's still out there. That kid even knew premium existed. He didn't just say Tinder. He said Tinder premium, which I'm not 100% sure what premium is. I'm assuming, I don't know, you pay more, you get more.
Ankita says to her friend, what kind of guy should I get with? And her friend says, not the kind of guys you've been with before. And they all laugh. And then it comes across that like, oh, Ankita likes fixer-uppers. She likes a guy that like has issues and potential, and she can hopefully bring that out of him. And she ends up just not getting treated very well.
And then she just says, I date douchebags. That's what she said.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know why I like douchebags. I just do. I think maybe it's a self-esteem thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a relationship we've heard out here on the Western side of the world.
Of course. I mean, there's a lot of people that like fixer-uppers. There's a lot of people that date douchebags. Most men are douchebags. So, just
I can
letting you guys know in case you're thinking about it.
Yes, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Present company.
I'm not a douchebag. I just need to open up more. After Ankita's hanging out with the friends, Ankita meets Geeta, and they have a wonderful, and that's sarcastic, wonderful conversation about the criteria that Ankita would like.
This is where Geeta just beats down Ankita's chalu ass.
So fucked up. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is this? Like, it was like a power move by Geeta.
She said, just remember, when you get married, friends, family, they all take a back seat. Yeah. It's not important for anyone else to like him. I was like, damn. Yeah. Sometimes I'm also like, it's in the delivery. So I was talking to a single girlfriend of mine like a few weeks ago, and I was telling her like, okay, so what is marriage? It's like, you don't know this person, you meet a stranger, and then they're supposed to like surpass the person who you love the most in your life right now. The exception is if you already have a child. But they're supposed to surpass that person and become like the most important to you. It's like a really weird thing, And so I think that's what she's trying to say, but she says it in such a shitty, demeaning way. And like, before you feel that for someone, you can't imagine it, and you can't just put somebody there. And just a piece of paper or a ceremony doesn't put someone to that level in your heart. It's like experience of them, how you treat each other, how you are together. And that takes time. And sometimes that happens before you get married. Sometimes that doesn't happen till later after you get married. And for some people, it doesn't ever happen. Right. I just think that was really shitty the way she said that. But I do think I get what she's saying, but that's not the right way to say it.
Fuck that lady. I don't get it, dude. I don't fucking
I
get it,
wouldn't
man.
go
I'm getting
that
stressed out
far.
watching these shows. I know this shit exists. Obviously, I know it exists, but this lady, she doesn't know anything. She's just a lady that's talked to a bunch of people. It doesn't matter because, like you said, it's one person that you're with. You don't need to change your entire life to open yourself up to as many people as possible so you can end up with one person. It doesn't make any sense. Terrible advice.
Yeah.
Well, life is never equal, as Preeti Aunty would say.
What does that mean?
I also didn't like that she said, like, what if he wants you to move to Timbuktu? It's like when it's a fictional person and it's a fictional Timbuktu, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, why would she uproot her whole
Yeah.
life? If it came down to it, if she had a kid with this person, if she loved this person more than anybody else in the world, if it was a need to move to Timbuktu, I'm sure she'd find a way to make it work. But to just ask her that straight out like that, it doesn't make sense for her in this moment.
Yeah, get ready to pack your bags.
Yeah, it's like doesn't make any sense.
Is Timbuktu a real place?
And Preeti Aunty has to bring in.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it is.
See you guys there.
But Preeti Aunty tries to put a spin on that as well by saying that she, with a snap of her fingers, like did that for her life. And it's like, I thought you were on her side of the progressive, independent woman's side, the opposite of what Seema Aunty was pushing towards. And Ankita, rightfully so, talking to the camera on the one-on-one, didn't like that conversation because, it felt like it was denigrating women, or especially independent women like herself who are building up their careers, because she's a career woman.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that to her?
Yeah, exactly. And then especially because Gita says it is our duty as women to be understanding that in marriage, the woman gives the emotional side of herself more than the man does. And I'm like, that is really bad, shitty advice. And I don't think that's true.
That's so not true.
And if that's the case, that's a really shitty
It also makes
relationship.
no sense. Like, personality types aren't usually defined by gender. Like, you are your personality type, whether it's like avoidant or communicative or emotional, or you bottle your emotions up. Like, it's not just men that do that. Women do that too. Like, it's pretty fucking obvious that Gita doesn't know what the fuck she's doing.
And then we head over to Akshay, frustrated Akshay. Oh, poor guy. He has this nervous laughter. It's always nervous. And I start to feel for him just because of how locked up he is. Wearing his Brawny outfit in his red flannel shirt. So if you know Brawny, the brand that's out here in the States, the paper towel, the mascot is this burly man wearing red flannel shirt. Every time I see Akshay wearing that red flannel shirt, he looks like the Brawny man. Not as muscular, but like a brown version of him. They talk about the three girls that he's not interested in that are lined up ready to meet him. And Preeti Aunty is also like, hey, yo,
your time is running out. Chop, chop.
You're right. Like, his time is running out, and he talks about organically meeting these girls. And I write down the question, what does he mean organically? Because for the freaking 10th time, you didn't do anything during college or meet with anybody. You don't know what organic means. My take is you had to talk to one of these three girls. You have to meet with them. Then it becomes organic after that. Right now, it's manufactured meeting.
Yeah.
But once you get in the system, then it's organic after that. Bro, meet up with somebody.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to get married.
He's
like,
not
so
meet them.
Okay, this is
obvious.
This is my PSA for Desi culture, is like, stop forcing man children to get married
100%.
when they have no interest in it, because you just end up ruining his life and some woman's life, and you make sure that their children need therapy.
100%. Yeah, these guys, emotionally immature. The wife ends up doing everything. Cleaning, cooking, and working, raising the kids, because these dudes just can't do shit. Like, they can maybe barbecue once in a while or something.
Trad.
But like this trad wife thing that Shabnam has been talking about the last few episodes, it's so fucking apparent.
And he's definitely trying to put up a front that he's his own man, when obviously he isn't. It's, at least with the editing and the storytelling that's happening in the show, he isn't, because he says, and I just like, I kind of like slammed the desk when he says, like, I'm responsible for myself. Well, what? I'm sorry, what? The way that things are being portrayed on this show is you're not responsible for yourself. at all. You just to go in and sleep and go to work and come back. Everything is hand fed to you, dude. And then we hit up Ankita again.
Yeah.
Auntie has introduced Ankita with Kshitij. One thing that I noted in the bio data of Kshitij is that, hey, ladies, he's 6 foot tall.
Ooh.
Isn't that a green flag for all you ladies?
That's
Of
funny
course.
because we talked about all the other participants of the show. They wanted people 5'3" and over, and Ankita was like, he needs to be at least 5'6". So this guy's like overperforming.
She got a 6-footer. And he founded a health tech startup, much like her, who founded a garment distribution manufacturing company as well, which is okay, cool. Like you're lining up a good date here. And her first impressions was that he's good looking.
He good
My
looking.
first impressions of him was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, she said he good looking. I was like,
She was
hey,
like,
girl. But, yeah, exactly. But then she jokes with him about like drinking the whole bottle of alcohol, and he gets kind of alarmed. And then she's like, "Oh, it's a joke." It's like, okay, he didn't get
No,
that.
because he almost came on board. He's like, all
Yeah,
right,
she
sure, let's
pulled
do
back.
it. And she's like, no.
well,
I'm
she
joking.
was smart. She's like, you order first. And he's like, I'm just going to get gin. And she's like, that's perfect. And she's like, let's get the whole bottle. And then gin and juice started playing in my head. So I missed like the next minute. He seemed like he didn't seem like a bad dude. It just, he said that he was with someone and it was so emotionally draining and it wasn't that long, but it just took him out. And I'm assuming this is like in 2019 or 2020. And he said that was in
Yeah.
2017. So he had been single a couple of
Yeah.
years.
Now, he started his startup
Totally.
right afterwards. He founded
Yeah.
his startup. So maybe he's breaking up with this very emotionally draining relationship, and I'm going to put my effort and time and space into
Yeah.
this startup, which he's been running
Yeah.
since 2017, 2018.
Interesting. So,
And she started her startup around the same time as well. So there's a lot of common ground here as they were talking, and he opened up, and they started talking about vulnerability again. So
Mhm.
not only we have Vyasar being vulnerable, but Kshitij and Ankita are being vulnerable
Yeah.
about their past love life as well on the first date. So again, this balance, you got to find that right person, because otherwise it'd be like a turnoff. But
Right.
they were happily engaging.
it seems like these two, they looked at each other. I saw a glimmer in her eye, and it seemed like she wanted to go in for like a first kiss. I know it would never happen probably in India
Especially on
and
camera.
on camera, but
Yeah.
they were liquored up a little bit. Like it was pretty obvious.
You didn't like the side hug?
I was actually surprised they side hugged.
So we cut back to Akshay. And throughout this episode, we've been talking about Preeti Auntie's blood pressure, BP levels. And what do we see? Her showing her blood pressure on camera from the blood pressure device. Of course, they're going to show us that.
Look, Akshay, it's high because of you.
She made him look
Literally,
at a blood pressure
they
machine.
say that.
It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And now I've heard that plenty of times from my parents a long time ago. It doesn't happen anymore. But in the early days of emotional kidnapping, whatever you want to call it, Shamim, that used to happen. So I get it. It's effed up.
So they're standing in the kitchen and she's talking about her blood pressure. She's like, what would you like for dinner? Obviously, it's set up by Netflix, but he's like, I don't know. And then she says, I can cook you something. I'm like, this is so gross. Like, such Oedipus complex. And he's like, I can order something. She's like, order, can't order a wife, can't get married. And she just keeps going on and on. She's insane. Like,
You can't get
Can't
married.
get married.
Yeah, she's
Yeah, you order food
Yeah.
and don't get
he
married.
can eat
Yeah.
dinner, but
Okay.
he can't get married. What a fucking loser. Like, she doesn't make any sense.
and then
Like when she talks.
yeah. But then she says, you want everything
Mhm.
ready made. And then he says everything comes back to marriage. And then they switch to the confessional where they're just talking to her. And she says, when Akshay and I are alone, I chew his brains, which means nag him to no end in South Asian English language, so that he'll just do whatever I say and get married. And at this point, I was like, oh my God, I think I hate her.
I hate her.
Like, I literally think I hate her.
So you're saying that she's just literally wearing him down to the point of submission.
Intentionally, and she thinks
But
it's
she
funny.
keeps, so that's, ugh. You know what she says after that? She says, and she looks so happy when she says it. She says, literally word for word, if he can't do it, my husband and I will finalize the wife for him. And her face is lit up because that's the ultimate.
She's chomping
She wants
at
to
the
control the
bits
shit
for
out of him.
that.
She's so desperate to pick him
Yeah.
a wife. What's she gonna do? Get into the bedroom with them?
Tip to tip.
Like,
tip to tip.
Jesus, I don't know what she's gonna do. Like,
And then she gives him like this guilt trip about how he doesn't understand her because he's not the one with the child. She's the one with the child who's him. So like there's nothing in this world or in Akshay's life especially that's not
Yeah.
about Preeti Aunty. She is like 1, 2, 3, finish it and pick a girl so I can dress her up like a doll and have a new Stepford wife in my house to do my bidding because everything's about me, and I will pull out every emotionally manipulative trick I have to blackmail you into doing everything I want because everything is 100% about me. F you, you're nothing.
Akshay and his mom, relatably, that is super frustrating to even watch and dissect, but it needs to be done, and that's why we're here. We're here for you guys, the listener. Right after this conversation is done, we head back to Austin again with our boy Vyasar. Yay, good job making us feel good in this episode. In his second date with Rashi, and asking the vulnerable question on this second date and diving deep into his backstory. But that backstory is at the end of the episode,
cliffhanger.
which ends up being a cliffhanger. We hear the little tidbits of Vyasar's father and how he was not a part of his life, also divorced from his mother, just like Aparna-ish. I would just say they're both divorced. They have two different storylines, but single mother. And the father, and how he had went to prison for conspiracy to commit murder against his ex-wife.
He was like nervous about telling Rashi, right? Because he's like, I don't know how she's going to feel about this, and she has every right to not be comfortable with it. So, Imran, he is your boy. You could see how he's vulnerable and see what happens.
Yeah, what's relatable to me in understanding these divorce storylines is that my parents are divorced as well, and that was in my teen years.
Mhm.
So I often wonder when we talk about the vulnerability part about it is, when do I talk about that?
Yeah.
With meeting with a potential significant other. You like how I said meeting versus date? Somebody was like, date this, date that. I'm like, oh, that meeting
I didn't
with
say
that
date
person.
shit.
Mhm. Very classy,
Yeah.
Imran.
So yeah, I often will have a tug of war between that sort of vulnerability for sure. But yeah, that's my boy. And cliffhanger. There you go. And cliffhanger on my story too.
Nice. All right.
So cool.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. This ends another frustrating and beautiful episode all together in one of Chai After Dark. That's it for this episode, potty people, and you know what to do. Like and subscribe to all the things I mentioned at the top of the episode, or check the show notes / description for the links. In other news, we did our first 2 interviews for the podcast, and our next episode is one of them. You'll want to be around for that one. We welcome Kapish Moria from the TLC series. Welcome to Plathville to the Chai After Dark podcast.
It's the weirdest cut because we shot for like 5 hours straight, and we're just shooting there and stuff like that. And as the camera is panning, as soon as I'm supposed to enter, the scene cuts and goes to the left side of us, and it starts from the back of my head.
Stay tuned for that episode this week. Chai out.
This episode was produced, edited, marketed, and created by Shubnam, Captain Ron, and Sameem of Chai After Dark, LLC, in association with Great Pods.